What's up, everybody in the Spurs Digest family? I am one of the hosts of Spurs Digest, Keenan Warner. Not here with Josh, not here with Brian, but today we are going to discuss a few things. We're going to talk about this ESPN list that did come out, talking about how important we are to the league right now and what we are ranked as one of the up-and-coming teams there. And then two, we are going to talk about how the San Antonio Spurs have progressed and as a rookie, what Carter Bryant is viewed as. But let's just get right underway with it. Then at the end, I'm going to ask some questions, see who is here, see who wants to talk about some great Spurs stuff. Let's get in. The NBA rebuild rankings. How close are 14 teams to the title? And then we're going in from here is when the first version of the NBA 25 rebuild rankings launched in March, the expectation was the NBA's draft lottery would signal massive shift. Cooper flagged Dylan Harper, our guy Dylan Harper, of course, believed to be the consensus top two talents, and they've obviously already shown in the Summer League that they are top talent. But whichever bottom-dwelling franchise has landed them, which we're not even bottom-dwelling, of course, undoubtedly skyrocketed up. So they went through and they ranked the 14 teams, and we were one of the 14 teams that basically were on the uptick. The teams that did not make the playoff, and we ranked number one for teams most likely to go up and succeed. Why? 8 players under 25. Obviously, most of our star caliber players are under 25. Take out De'Aaron Fox, but Sochan, of course, star caliber. Stephon Castle, clearly Dylan Harper. Hopefully, Carter Bryant can turn into at least a starter level. And of course, the best player on our roster, a top 10 player in the game, Victor Wembanyama. Tradable first round picks 3. Players on rookie scale contracts 5. So we are young, we've got talent, and we have the ability to ascend moving forward. The strategy for the Spurs and the Mavs, take out the Mavs, are remainders. The fortunes sometimes come down to something completely out of the franchise's control, which is luck. Obviously, the Mavs have Davis, Kyrie, they get the number 1 pick, whatever. We, on the other hand, we get Dylan Harper after having Wemby, trading for De'Aaron Fox, getting Carter Bryant. So we have 2 lottery picks to go along with Wemby, with Stephon Castle. So we're trending in the way that the Thunder were trending when they obviously were acquiring draft picks. They trade for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. They're able to trade Chet, trade to get Chet in the draft, but then Chet gets injured first year. They're still having to build. They get to draft guys like Jalen Williams, and they get to grow from there with their young talent. And then we add all-star De'Aaron Fox, who has arrived via trade in Sacramento, and Devin Vassell signed a 5-year extension October of 2023. And the Spurs have every reason to believe the rise in the difficult West will continue. Of course, we have to think last year when talking about this roster. We have to think, okay, so we had the trade for De'Aaron Fox come in, and then right after that trade was done, it was only a few weeks before the Wemby news broke. Obviously, then officially we got the Gregg Popovich not coming back for the remainder of the year, which we speculated was going to happen. And then De'Aaron Fox is like, yeah, my fingers are actually going kind of the wrong way. Let's take care of that, especially since we were not on a playoff trajectory. It really got Stephon Castle involved as a point guard role, plus being an off-ball guy. Chris Paul really helped in that realm. But we haven't been able to see this team fully together. And let's not forget Devin Vassell was out early in the year with that foot injury. And that foot injury is tough because breaking that 5th metatarsal in your foot, it's not that the pain's terrible. You just can't put any pressure on that foot. And then the second you think you're good, it can just pop because it's such a fragile bone. Once it hardens, it's stronger than ever. But getting to that point makes it a very difficult thing. So we never got to see this team at full strength. And the estimated return to relevance, the San Antonio Spurs will expect to compete for a top 6 playoff spot this season with Wemby healthy and his combination of a young players, draft picks to acquire another premium player in the coming months if one comes available and if the San Antonio Spurs choose to go all in. I mean, right now, this is our depth chart. This does not add David Jones-Garcia, who we absolutely who I absolutely loved in Summer League. He was one of the Summer League MVPs. He was for us, but one of the Summer League MVPs overall. But Fox, Castle, Vassell, Sochan, Wemby is what you could assume the starting five to be, with Harper, Champagnie, Johnson, and Bryant going to split those minutes there. Barnes and Cornette off the bench with Kelly Olynyk. So the Spurs are in a very good spot there, and I'm interested to see what you guys think about how the San Antonio Spurs are progressing. If you guys want to throw comments there and down in the chat, I will definitely respond and love to get your feedback on it. But the San Antonio Spurs right now, I believe, are they're in a great spot, and they have the great ability to move forward, and I think that they're going to have a lot of success coming here in the future, and I want to hear what you guys think there. I don't know if chat-wise if everything's loading up real quick, so if you do put in a chat and it doesn't load up, I do apologize for that, but we should be good. I will go on for the next portion of this here, and then as the comments and things come in, I will talk about that, and we can discuss that right now. So hold on just a second. Let me get to this next portion here. Moving on, though, when talking about the other portion, we have the 2025 NBA draft. This is talking about how deep the draft was and who got the best value pick, who they felt got the best value pick. The 2025 NBA draft was one of the deepest in some time. Of course, you had late first-round picks showcasing a lot of talent. Players like Walter Clayton, who could be a top 10 pick in other drafts, actually went down, and they went to 18. As I say, it felt like teams couldn't go wrong in the lottery. Those players were able to showcase their skills in Las Vegas Summer League and show their teams why they were the right pick. The San Antonio Spurs were able to grab 2 lottery picks, and one of them seen as the biggest steal of the draft, according to ESPN's Jeremy Woo. And the question turned up the widest range of responses and several voters offering dual answers. Wu wrote, Spurs rookie Bryant garnered the most votes on the heels of his excellent defensive play at Las Vegas Summer League session. The Arizona forward was widely expected to come off the board earlier, with potential suitors in Portland and Atlanta trading out of their slots in the late lottery, which dropped him to the San Antonio Spurs spot. And we couldn't be more excited. I was live for the draft, and we got to react to that in real time, and all Spurs fans couldn't have been more excited to get a guy of Carter Bryant's talent level and his ability to 3-and-D, stretch the floor, and his ability to get to the basket downhill in transition. We'll see how that jump shot progresses. We'll see how things progress for him. So I'm very excited to see what Carter Bryant's going to be able to turn into. Little bit of a project. He is not a fine-tuned offensive player yet, but he is a high-level defensive player already with a lot of energy, a lot of length, athleticism. We saw on the multiple block possession he had, chase down blocks. And then we got to see in the last Summer League game, I believe he had 16 points, 4 of 6 from 3. We got to see that. We got to see the shot go. We got to see the shot there a little bit. So we were happy to see that from Carter Bryant. But team scouts are already seeing what the narrative could be surrounding Bryant in the coming years, and he can truly be an impact for the Spurs. Bryant will turn into an impact wing defender that can make threes and be part of their core, an Eastern Conference scout said. We'll look back in several years while the Spurs are winning big, and people will mention them drafting Castle at 4 in 2024 and Bryant at 14 to pair defensively with Victor and as draft steals. With his length and defensive ability, Bryant could truly be the biggest steal of the draft. And you cannot be more excited as a fan of the San Antonio Spurs and what they have been able to do, what they have been able to become, and how they're growing. So I absolutely love the fact that they're talking about how Carter Bryant is one of the best deals in the draft, because we thought that as the time was there was a chance he could have gone at 9, there was a chance he could have gone at 10, but he was able to slide down to 14 to us at that pick, at the last lottery pick, and then we got to see what kind of defender he already is in Summer League. But that is my thoughts and my feelings on Carter Bryant, on how the Spurs are constructed, what their process and what they look like moving forward. I'm open to taking any questions from anybody in here right now talking about the San Antonio Spurs. If there are questions popping up, let me know. I'm not seeing anything at the moment. Spurs Nation. I think one of the most interesting things about the Spurs, I'm going to speak for a moment, but I think one of the most interesting things that are going to be with the Spurs moving forward is how they're going to come together as a unit. Obviously, they have a lot of pieces right now that haven't played together. It's going to be interesting to see how this team works within the conjunction of all the guard play that they have, combined with the bigs that they're able to acquire in Luke Kornet, Kelly Olynyk. I'm lost on what to do with Vassell. He just doesn't fit. I'm trading him for needs and other wing defense. I agree. I think Devin Vassell is a player right now that doesn't fully fit on this roster, but I do think that we have an obligation to keep him for a moment. I don't think we need to rush into a decision. The trade deadline is in February. So it's not like we have to push to make a decision now, but if we do see, okay, so without Vassell, this team is playing better, and we're pushing forward and we're winning games, say, without him or without him being a lesser role, we have the ability to push forward, trade for a guy like a Trey Murphy, Herb Jones. Those guys may not be available at the time, but we never know what the Pelicans are going to be looking like. So those are the type of guys we might be able to target, or maybe, hey, we could package Sochan and Vassell, and maybe Bam's having problems in Miami because they're not taking the trajectory that they thought. We can possibly move for there. So it really just all depends on what the Spurs are going to look like and what teams are going to look like around the December-ish time to January, when we really start need to think about these moves. But I would start the season with what we have right here and see what we got. Do you think the Spurs should bring in Hector? Do you think the Spurs should bring in Horford or another big remaining in free agency to round up that department, or are they set? I would say they're set. I think grabbing Kelly Olynyk and Luke Kornet with having Jeremy Sochan and the fact that you can play Harrison Barnes at a 4 in a stretch lineup more so, I do think that the Spurs are pretty much set in that capacity. Horford would definitely be a nice piece to bring in. I just don't think with Wemby, you're hoping Wemby can get to that point where 36 minutes a game is for sure. I know there are times where his rotations in the lineup were a little bit iffy for people, but I do think that at this point with Olynyk, with Kornet, with Wemby, with Sochan, and then Barnes being able to fill in, and if you really needed it, Carter Bryant could play a 4 for a 3-4 minute stretch. I think that they're okay for right now, and they don't need it. Not a bad player, and he's a champion, but not something they necessarily need. We have one roster spot open right now. Is Lindy that last one? I technically think that we don't have a roster spot open right now. I think we're going to have a few people competing for that 13. So if you go to our depth chart here, so that's the 13 that we have in the depth chart. Obviously McLaughlin, and then we have Jones Garcia, and then we've got Lindy. I think that is going to be more of a competition between those people to make the original 13. I don't think we do have another one. Too many guards for a safe space. Too many guards. If Vassell's not scoring, he is just getting lost out there. He needs to commit to the little things, defend, rebound, and hustle. I absolutely agree with the fact that if Vassell does not progress and not show his defensive capabilities, because remembering he was a defensive guy coming out of the draft. So he was a guy that you thought was going to be able to progress. He's actually shown a lot offensively, and if he is able to showcase the defensive prowess that we think that he possibly could have and that he should be able to have, then yeah, I think that we can keep him. If not, getting a 3-and-D guy who can create off the bounce, that's what everybody's looking for. But if we could flip him for that, that would be something nice too. And delete the 20-second live you tried to do. Yeah, absolutely. I think afterwards, me and the Spurs Digest team will take that down. So that's not too big of a problem. I appreciate you updating me on that there. Does anybody have any other questions or any interest right now in the Spurs, or any thoughts going forward that we can speak on now? Me personally, as of right now, I do think as of me now, I do think that the Spurs are going to be in a good situation where they could they should have a very good chance to not get into the bottom six. Out of the bottom six, or top six, where they can actually make the playoffs and not have to go through that play-in process. But you never know. The West is so confident and the West is so good up top that the defense, offense, and the playmaking of teams like Minnesota. We obviously saw what Denver did. We obviously have seen what the Lakers are trying to do if they're a team. The Warriors are still there, plus the Thunder, who just won the championship. The Clippers, who are making moves to get a veteran team. They're getting the Run DMC old level band back together. You're just trying to get a bunch of pieces. So the West is going to be interesting. And Lenny Waters is a guy who, if he does officially make the roster and like he's able to go through, I think that he's going to be a good addition for the Spurs because he played very well in Golden State. He is a lethal shooter, and he actually has some speed off the bounce. So talking about Lindy, I believe that Lindy could be an interesting piece for the Spurs just because he does have a little bit off the bounce, more than you would expect instantly coming in, but that his shot is water. His shot is truly water. He was a very high level scorer when it came to efficiency wise in Golden State in 24-25. I understand that like his percentages weren't the best in the world, but if you're watching him in clips and in moment, like he was truly a guy who could get hot at any point. So like the efficiency in which you score and when you're able to actually shoot and go, I liked him a lot there. I know his percentages don't speak to it, but obviously when you don't have a big sample size, it's not going to be as easy. But I would trade from Emmanuel. I would trade Fox and Vassell for a future draft assets we could use after the team pays Wemby, Castle, Harper, and Carter in the future and build around those guys. I think it's interesting. Fox is going to be the most interesting player on the team this year, and it's going to start with Dylan Harper. If Dylan Harper is not showcasing that he can be that all-NBA level kind of projection guy here early, I do think you're going to be in a position where you're going to want to keep Fox. But if Harper comes out and he's like, oh, I'm ready now, you're going to be put in a position where you're like, okay. It's going to be interesting just because we're going to have to give Fox a deal, and giving him a max deal now doesn't look as easy and penned in as it was before. So if you're able to talk with Fox and maybe get him to take a bit less than the actual max deal, then I do think Fox is great because, as Zaid said, the playoff experience is something that Fox is important for. He has obviously got into the first round, got to a Game 7. Steph went ballistic and scored 50 in that game. And I think that was originally the series that he dislocated his finger in that just never really got settled until last year. So, I mean, Fox has been there. He's been the most clutch player in the league. So it's going to be interesting to see him there. And I think we do need some veteran leadership on the roster. And though he's only 27-ish, Fox is one of the veterans on the team, him, Barnes. I agree. It does take guards a bit to adjust. I mean, you see some guards who will come out and really make an impact. Anthony Edwards was able to make an impact early on, but not all of them make an impact to winning. They make an impact to their individual success. LaMelo did very good in his rookie year. Cade was good in his rookie. Like, they made impacts, but they weren't impactful on winning, and that's the portion where we need to be, because we do have a lot of people who were good as rookies. Wemby was great as a rookie. Stephon Castle was great as a rookie. These guys are showcasing, but now it's time for all of them to switch their mindset from just being, okay, we are good individual players and we're having good individual success, to now we're having good team success. And I'm interested to see what that looks like and who needs to be in what pieces, because we have all the pieces to the puzzle. I think that the team is constructed well. They're not in a position where it's like, oh, we have way too much of this. Like, we have a lot of guards, but the guards do different things. in my personal opinion. Fox gets downhill well, and Harper gets downhill well, but you can stagger their minutes. Stephon Castle is a very good defender, and then you have Vassell, who is a very good scorer. If one of them can just develop, or a couple of them can develop as shooters, then I think you'll have everything honestly perfect with the San Antonio Spurs roster right now. And if it needs to be a trade, it needs to be a trade. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I'm going to take a few more questions here, and then I am going to be heading out here. So let's just see a couple more. And from Emmanuel, I would keep him for 1 or 2 years to help boost Harper's progress, and then trade him during the same season we have to pay Castle. That's an interesting thought on Fox. The only thing, it just contractually, I don't know how easy that's going to work. So it just all depends on how we're able to line it up contractually. Obviously, the NBA money is going up and up and up every year, so we're going to see how that's going to work. And obviously, we don't know what the cap is exactly going to look like and what these contracts are exactly going to look like. But it might be hard to roster Castle, Fox, Harper, and Wemby, and maybe being able to take someone actually taking him on could be a little bit difficult. Ragnar, if Waters and McLaughlin just bring the Spurs the same numbers, Brandon and Wesley, to win anyway because they cost that. No, that's very true. That is very true. And you have to think, their importance to the roster is going to be, 1, pushing some of these young guys, and 2, just when people really get injured or for sparks off the bench, which is why I like Lindy Waters a lot, because he really can get the shot flowing quickly, and he can get it a little bit off the bounce too and get downhill. So when you have guys like that, they can come in spurts, and they can change a regular season game in January against the Sacramento Kings, and he can come in and change the game in the second quarter and help us get a win that we may have not gotten without that burst and without that uptick in play. So, and those ones are going to be important. So you're going to see, obviously, us talk about every game this year. We're going to be going out and talking about everything, because we talk about everything San Antonio Spurs-wise. But, it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very hard for the San Antonio Spurs to get to that point where they need to be in the playoffs and rolling and moving. So, I mean, with what we have now, every game is going to matter, and every game needs to matter. So that's why it's important for the San Antonio Spurs to get out to a quick start. It's important for the Spurs to push forward and to move and to grow as a unit, which is why you might see moves earlier rather than later for the San Antonio Spurs. All right, I'm taking one more question here if anybody has another question. If not, this was fun. This is great for us to talk about and to move on with the San Antonio Spurs. We're going to be trying to do these lives, and hopefully we can get Bryant and Josh on so we can kind of bounce off of that, because they have different perspectives than us in our group chat that we have with the Spurs. We get to talk. We get to talking about what the Spurs should do and what they do. I don't know why everyone seems so low on Fox. If we gave him a few years, we really banking on a year 3 player, reliable. Fox is the only consistent scorer on the team, and then we should keep Fox around. That's all I'm saying. I think we should keep Fox to start. I don't think we should try to move off of Fox at all. The only way that moving off of Fox makes sense is if Harper is really as good as his draft profile looks, and if he can ascend, because then it's going to just be difficult to have Fox, Harper, and Castle. But you can also make that work, and you could keep all 3 of them. Financially, it'll make it tough to work, but I mean, we did see the Pacers. Tyrese Halliburton, Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith. All of those guys are guards or kind of wings. And Neesmith, if Castle can develop, Neesmith and Castle can kind of play in the same role. Defensive stoppers who can shoot from the outside. Harper and Fox can be like Nembhard and Halliburton, where both of them are playmakers and able to kind of each take up the ball at the floor, and depending on who the defense is throwing at them, make things possible and kind of put the defense off of their keep them off their toes. So I do actually think that it's possible for the both of them to be in that situation. I really do. It just really all depends on what the San Antonio Spurs want, and if Fox, Harper, and Castle, if they can develop some jump shots. Because if they really can develop some jump shots, then things are going to be different. Things are definitely going to be different for them. All right. Well, guys, this was extremely fun. Again, we want to do this more often and try to get on here with the live streams more often. So I thank you for pointing out that 20-second random little one that was going on there. There was a little hiccup there, but we'll definitely take care of that one, remove that there. And thank you, everybody, for being on this stream. This was fun. Hopefully we can kind of consistent date so people can prepare, get more even questions and comments coming in here, because we would be nothing without all of you guys. We appreciate you guys. Like, comment, subscribe on the Spurs Digest channel. I want to become a family. I'm sorry, Jelly Bean. I know we definitely need to get into the point where we're getting this consistently. Hopefully next Thursday around 5 o'clock, we can try to aim to have this again. But this has been Spurs Digest. I'm Keenan Warner. Hopefully next time we could even have Josh or have Bryant on with us. And we'll be seeing all of you guys very, very soon.